He's 3 months old. He's my first son. It's about 1:30 in the morning. I'd had a crazy week. My wife had just started back at her consulting company. We had a babysitter that was helping out a little bit. She was working from home. I'd had days full of meetings after meeting after meeting, project meetings, staff meetings, client meetings. At night, I was doing recruiting, sales. It was 2008. The economic bomb had gone off. Uncertainty with the company I'd founded back in 1997. And my son had already gotten up twice. It was Friday night, about 1:30 in the morning. I was out like a light, exhausted, but I'd promised my wife this was the night I would watch Rhett. All week she'd held it together, and she was out too. And then I started to hear it. Wah, wah. I'm like, oh, it's just a dream. It can't be. I'm still lying in bed. And then it gets a little bit louder. I go, it's my night. It's my night. And I go looking for my glasses by the side of the table, and they weren't there. I'd probably, in the freak out of getting them the time before, put them back somewhere else. It was pitch black. I couldn't see anything. So I go running over to go get him out of his crib. I get him, I turn, bam! I hit the wall with him. All hell broke loose at that point. He starts screaming. I don't know whether he's hurt. Leah wakes up, and I'm so tired. I was trying to get him out in the hallway to just settle him down. And so Leah feeds him. We get him back to bed. She falls back asleep. But I can't go back to sleep. I'm just sitting there in bed thinking, something's got to change. He's 3 months old. I'm thinking about how I was brought up. I had an amazing childhood. My dad had a very flexible schedule. He'd pick me up from school. We'd go hit baseballs most days for batting practice. And I was not on that track at all. And so there are two things that came to mind I could do. The first one was easy, the glasses. I went to OHSU, I got LASIK done, 2 minutes, 2010 vision. It's unbelievable. 12 years later, still 2010. Highly recommend it. The second thing that came to mind, and I don't know if Kent Lewis is here, but he owns a great agency called Anvil, and he and I caught up over the years, and he'd talk about this group called EO, and I thought to myself, I've never have time to go on these boondoggles of like a wine tasting trip to the Willamette Valley or racing cars out at PIR. Like, that's for people whose business is completely dialed. And I thought to myself, what he's talking about are these experience shares, these people who've been around the corners that you're hoping to be able to go around one day. And goal setting and surrounding yourself with these experts who can really help you. And so I picked up the phone, I called Kent a couple days later, and I say, hey, Kent, I'm ready. Like, you've been talking about this for a couple of years, but now's the time. I won't have time if I don't figure out how to change some things in my life. So he hooked me up with this was when EO was really small a long time ago, so we didn't have fancy test drive events. I went out and jumped right in with a member event, and it was literally a chartered bus with a sommelier going out to the Willamette Valley to go wine tasting. And I thought to myself, it's 2008. I have no time. Like, the day before, I almost canceled. I thought, how in the world can I justify taking a day off of work to go out to the Willamette Valley right now? And so I showed up, and I met Barry Raber, who would later become a mentor and a forum mate of mine for the last 12 years. And when I met him, he was in commercial real estate, still is today. And that market was affected more than any other market you could imagine. And he was taking a day away from his craziness in the office. And I listened to the confidence and the hopeful optimism that he had, while his portfolio of real estate was certainly worth less today than it was 2 years ago. And as I boarded the bus and started to meet more EO people and hear more stories, I understood I wasn't alone anymore. And I wasn't the only one that had been exhausted. And these people they might not have walked into a wall with their child to wake up and find the importance of surrounding yourself with the support network, but they had figured out how to find balance. Like, I was talking with Barry, and it was amazing. He takes a day every single quarter with each of his children to go and just do something meaningful that they love to do, just the two of them. I'm like, wow, I can't imagine being able to get to that place. So I got back from the test drive. I talked to Leah that night, and I said, Leah, this is going to sound crazy. 11 events, minimum a year I need to go to, a 1-week trip. It's about $5,000 a year to join this group. but I think this is what I need to do. And so she was completely on board because she agreed something had to change in our lives. We needed to find that balance. And I don't know how many people here today are running on empty and maybe you don't feel like you're moving towards your ideal life, but that was absolutely how I felt at that moment. And so the next step, Barry came out. You have forums that have different goals. Like Willie talked about how her group reads a book a month. And so different forums will be interested in you potentially joining their group. And in this case, they came out to my office, toured my business, and started asking me about, what do you hope to achieve with your business, with your life? And I talked about how Barry, I want to be like you. I want to be able to have that time with my kids. I want to be able to own my office building one day. I want to be able to have the balance to truly take a vacation, to have the permission to take a vacation. And at that point, Trey Moss, who owns Lewis & Clark Bank, and Stephen Seal, who owned Radius Land and now has a number of different real estate businesses. I could tell these folks had been where I wanted to be. And having that background and comfort of not being alone gave me incredible confidence. So in 2008, I joined that forum with the three of them, and we started to meet. And the first thing I was able to do is to clear my plate enough to be able to take a real vacation, which was amazing. I don't know how many people own a business and feel guilty for taking a vacation, but to be able to call my business partner and say, I'm turning my cell phone off, I'm going to Arizona for 3 weeks with my family, and I'm gonna reset. And that was an amazing experience for me. The next thing that we set out to do was working on the foundation of the business, thinking about these tools that they brought to me, like a delegation filter, thinking about unique ability and the way that you bring teams together. And we built a great foundation that allowed us in 2010 to go out and look at buying an office building. And that office building that we ended up buying was 20,000 square feet, big piece of property in Northwest Portland. It was a huge bet for us when nobody was buying real estate, but it had dropped below half the original asking price. This was something I would have never dreamed of doing if it wasn't for EO and my EO forum and the confidence of their experiences that they gave me to be able to see around the corners, have a president of a bank thinking about how you build your financial model, negotiating the transaction to the point where my debt service on owning the building was actually about the same as what I was paying in rent. It was an incredible opportunity. And so as the years went on, we moved into that building. We used SiteWorks Design Build to go and renovate it into our dream home. Our culture went through the roof with the company. We built an amazing leadership team. We were able to sell the building as the Conway Blocks development started for more than double our total investment into the property. This was a life-changing experience for my wife, my business partner, in the company. Because what it did was it gave us the confidence to go and rebrand the company. It gave us the opportunity to start to move from doing $500,000 projects to $1 million projects to $3 million projects. And in July, we were able to exit the business. I'm still working with our new ownership, which is Pro Karma, part of the Carlyle Group. And this has been an incredible journey that I would never have started if it wasn't for EO. And today, I try to take a trip each year. My wife and I each take one child for a week, just the two of us. And that's an amazing experience we started about 4 years ago. And I really ask each of you, are you surrounded by those people in your life that help give you the confidence to take risks, that have been where you want to go, that can plant those seeds of inspiration? Because that's what I found in EO and the transformative experience it's had for my life.